Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, StraightGameTV, platinum artist, platinum songwriter. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button. The thumbs up always helps the channel. The bell notification if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game. Check this out. I'm going to get right into it. The question comes from a brother from Baltimore, Maryland. And the question is, do you think Tupac had something to do with Jay-Z blowing up? And him having the career that he has now? And I'm going to answer that question with one word: yes. And most people who follow Jay-Z now and look at all of his success, which he rightfully deserves, Jay-Z's always been a hustler. But back at this time, during 1996, nobody knew who Jay-Z was. You know, few people may have known him, you know, throughout the tri-state area, New York and so on and so forth. But and from the streets, like I said, I knew his name from the streets. You know, back in the Eastern Shore. I'm from Maryland, and he'll know what I'm talking about when I say that. Him and the brother Emery and them, you know what I mean? And so, like I said, when you ask that question, like I said, or when I say what the answer to that question, simply one word: yes. Most people might look at me like, you know, what are you talking about? You know, well, like I said, I'm gonna use Jay-Z's own words. They say what? Men and women lie, but numbers don't. You know, I'm going to let these numbers speak for themselves. And the story in itself, when you understand the facts, you would agree. And like I said, and if not, that's okay, because people like to believe what they want to believe despite the facts sometimes. They usually are in their feelings, is what I call them. Like I said, but over here, we try to do facts over feelings. And so I'm going to give it to you like this. In March 1996, Jay-Z dropped Ain't No Nigga with Foxy Brown. You know, I would say lackluster reception, you know, from the public. I liked the record. You know, I thought the record was dope, to be perfectly honest with you. But like I said, but by that time, Tupac had already dropped All Eyes on Me. And Tupac was the dawn of the game, period. You know, and like I said, this thing has levels to it. And so, you know, when you deal with the fact of the matter, at that time, by March 1996, Tupac album was already 2 million records sold, period. And so June 4th, remember, Tupac dropped Hit 'Em Up, right? So, you know, and that was just a monumental situation. You know, on the West Coast, it was an earthquake. Around the world, it was like a tsunami for people who respected hip-hop and understood what that was. So that's the 4th of June. So now, let me give it to you like this. On June 25th, 1996, Jay-Z drops Reasonable Doubt. Now, mind you, Tupac's album is probably at that particular time 4 million records, 3.5, 4 million records sold of the All Eyes on Me. And if you double those numbers, because remember, Tupac's album was a double album, right? That's basically 6 million records, if you will. 6 million, 7 million records already sold because it was a double album, priced for about $24 or something like that. So now, Jay-Z's first week of the Reasonable Doubt sales, 43,000, a mere 43,000 records. And so when you understand, you know, the numbers and the popularity of who Tupac was at that time, Tupac was the king of the power. Tupac was the #1 hip hop artist in the world. And one of I would say the #1 artist at that particular time as far as record sales in the music business, period. And so, you know, as you move along, you know, we take that, you know, not lightly, but seriously now. And so you got to understand, by 2006, you know, I'm going to move ahead right here. By 2006, Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt had only done 1.5 million records, right? So it took 10 years to sell what Tupac was selling in 1 month of All Eyes on Me. 10 years versus 1 month, right? So you have these numbers. So now we move ahead, we go to Vegas. We understand what happened there. Tupac's basically assassinated in Vegas, and all of the things that happened, at that particular time. Nobody really knew, other than the people who were close to the game, that Tupac had already had another album ready to jump, right? You know what I mean? So here we go. November 5th, 1996, the Don Killuminati album, Makaveli, exit Tupac, enter Makaveli, right? And so you got to understand, at this particular time when Tupac was killed, it sent a ripple effect across the music industry, and it was devastating to hip hop, period. You know what I mean? And so now people, like any artist, whether he does a painting or whether he does music or so on and so forth, are looking for something to attach themselves to, mainly the artist's artwork, right? So November 5th, 1996, they dropped the Makaveli album. And the crazy part about it is Tupac had already done videos. You know what I mean? This is how much of a workaholic he was, right? Like, whoa. And then that was the thing that kind of led people to think that, he was still alive, because like he's dead, but they dropping videos. And it's like, wow, because now you see the image, but the artist himself is not there anymore, right? So now, but when he drops this album, in the beginning of the album, as the album comes on, there's this guy, this white guy, basically saying this script, if you will, and where Tupac, who wrote the script, basically mentions he called Biggie the Notorious P.I.G. He called Mobb Deep Mobb Sleep, and then he says an artist name who nobody really knows about. He says, and Jay-Z from Hawaiian Sophie fame, Big Little whatever. Now, mind you, this is an artist who recently lost his life 2 months earlier, now mentioning a guy we know nothing about, or most of hip hop knew nothing about at that particular time, right? And so immediately, just like on social media today, people want to know who's Jay-Z. They want to know who's Jay-Z. And so now, once again, we know Makaveli did crazy numbers. I think the first week, 600,000 copies. You know what I mean? Went on to do 5, 6, 7 million copies, right? So now Jay-Z is being introduced to the world by the most famous hip hop artist and one of the biggest artists in the world, who has recently been assassinated. You can't buy publicity like that. You can't get nobody to do that for any artist today. Jay-Z can't even do that for any artist today. He can't come out and mention somebody's name and say, yeah, this guy is such and such and such, and people really gravitate to that. Because if he could, he would. Right? But Tupac did that. And unbeknownst to Jay-Z at that particular time, once again, by 2006, Reasonable Doubt, due to, Jay-Z's popularity also, and his future success. But at that particular time, the first week, like I said, Reasonable Doubt only did 43,000 records, man. Tupac was doing 10 times that. What Jay-Z did in his first week, Tupac was doing every day, basically, as far as his record was concerned. Or 50% of that every day of each month. So, like I said, once again, men and women lie. Like Jay-Z said, men and women lie, but numbers don't. Tupac Shakur was responsible for the catapult and the rocket launch of Jay-Z's career. Like I said, you can't buy publicity like that today. And it was a blessing. And like I said, and I think Jay-Z and Beyonce, were paying homage when they did the Me and My Girlfriend thing, sampling Tupac's record, you know what I mean? Which is love, it's hip hop, you know what I mean? But like I said, I just want to deal with the facts. I don't like to deal with, speculation and innuendo. So yeah, to the brother from Baltimore, absolutely right. Absolutely yes. Tupac, had a lot to do with Jay-Z's career. And I don't think Jay-Z would have been introduced to as many people and them knowing his name at that particular time back in 1996 if it wasn't for Tupac Shakur. Your boy DELRAY, Straight Game.